What's going on is Anton from AntonDaniels.com. I appreciate you guys for continuing to rock with me, but I just got home off of an early morning flight, right? First thing through the door, I want to see my family. I love my family. You know, I'm a family man. I'm an advocate for families, right? Second thing, I got to get that hot shower because I got to throw the threads on. The threads make me feel like $1,000,000, but the third thing through my mind and all throughout the trip is that I gotta have that Tej pack. Tej makes my life uncomplicated. It's uncomplicated skincare for men. The first way that I started specifically was their level 1 system. It's a daily face wash to get rid of the dirt and grime on your skin. 2 times per week exfoliating scrub to get rid of the dead skin cells. An AM moisturizer with SPF20 because you should always be protecting your skin from the sun. And a PM moisturizer to help your skin stay hydrated and healthy throughout the night. Here's the thing. My favorite part about Tej Henley is that every box comes with an instruction card that tells you when to use each product, how much to use, and in what order. They really making the process of achieving and maintaining amazing skin for men uncomplicated. In addition to amazing skin, members of Tej Henley get tons of benefits, including at least 20% off the retail price, the ability to customize your box, exclusive monthly deals, you can pause and cancel at any time, and you get free shipping. And because Tej Henley is sponsoring today's video, they're offering my viewers an amazing deal, right? Just click the first link in the description and you get 30% off your first box, plus a free gift. It's an amazing deal. You got to get started today. You're not out here trying to look like a Dusty. And if you travel as much as I do, which I'm sure most people don't, but you know me, I'm pushing my bag chasers in order to be in the top 5%, top 10%, top 1%. We got to make our lives uncomplicated, and Tej Henley is no better product. You got to look good. You got to smell good. And you can't be looking like a Dusty. Make sure you get started today. Click the link in the description. Get that Tej pack. Feel the Tej, my friends. What's going on is Anton from AntonDaniels.com. I appreciate you guys for continuing to rock with me. It is February 21st, 2023, year of our Lord. Welcome to the Millionaire Morning Show, where we do some phenomenal, some great things. As usual, as promised, I told you guys that I will be live streaming specifically today in the earlier hours simply because I have a flight to catch. And just because I have a flight to catch does not mean that we're not moving in purpose. It does not mean that you have an opportunity to miss. It does not mean that you get off easy. I fully expect for a lot of people, as announced yesterday, for you guys to be able to tap in a little bit later, simply because I know what time that you're used to getting up, which is one of the reasons why I try to accommodate people on the West Coast. I try to accommodate people Central Time Zone. I try to accommodate people Eastern Time Zone. But this is a special show simply because I got a lot lined up for you guys. But more importantly, this is an example of how it is that we move in the bag chasers, right? So we don't miss. We don't miss at all. We never miss. And so those that get up a little bit later, they're just going to have to rewatch it. And we just going to go from there. But without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get into the show. Let me check into the chat and see what's happening with my bag chasers. Ruckus is in the building. What's going on? Persevere Data TV. Ruckus says, Anton, can you cook on the importance of waking up at 4 a.m.? I need to get out of this rut and waking up at 8. Well, here's the thing. First of all, you should get a coaching session. If you need to get in touch with me personally, email me at antondaniels413@gmail.com. Secondly, I woke up at 4 a.m. even though I went to bed at about 12, somewhere between 12 something and 1. I wanted to see what was going on the Anton Daniels channel with Q's stream. I'm testing out a few different things, and then you get into a conversation and so on and so forth. But my body is trained to wake up at about 4:30, simply because I have a lot to do, and before everybody even get up at 8 o'clock, the majority of my day is already set. Everything is taken care of. A lot of what people miss is that they're not managing their calendar, their personal calendar effectively. And they going based off of how they feel, which means that they don't really get a full night's sleep. Also, they can't really account for their 24 hours effectively. And more importantly, they don't go to bed early enough. But we'll get into that later. Make sure y'all tap in. Shout out to Ruckus. I appreciate you. Larry Walker is in the building. Good morning. Big Suggs, good morning. Alvin S., good morning. Demetrius Shaw, good morning. Rich, good morning. Hovey Baby 316, good morning. Nicholas Virgil, good morning. How you doing? Teresa, what's happening? You early. Kingdom Minded 1122. or 1121. Hey, see how I tried to add that extra number? It's because I love you. Kenny R, what's happening? D got sauce. We live. S Chanel. Yeah. Rickster, what's happening? Centennial G coming in early. So live in the AM. I love it. I wish, honestly, y'all, I honestly wish that I can go earlier, that I can go live earlier on a regular basis. If I could go early, go on live at 8 a.m. every morning, I'm gonna have to work on that. I got to figure that out because the problem is that I'm actually moving around my regular work schedule. So, you know, in corporate America, because a lot of y'all know, the bag chasers know that I miss no bag. So I want my corporate bag, I want my content bag, I want my business bag, I want my real estate bag, I want all of the bags, right? We miss no bags. That's why we manage our calendar effectively, right? A lot of y'all know that I'm in corporate America. And if you haven't tapped into the Patreon, link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. A lot of y'all know that I'm in corporate America, and my meetings generally, my first meeting in corporate America started at 8:30 a.m. All right. So I'm actually still off today because I got a flight that I need to catch. But I actually like getting up early, and there's benefits that come along with it. I wish if I could do the morning show at 8:30 a.m. instead of 11:30, that would be ideal. That would be perfect. But I'll have to figure that out. Zotang TV with the first super chat of the day says, "Morning, big dog. Thoughts on building rental properties in a Caribbean island? I have no idea what the market is like and what the possibilities are if they get hurricanes or whatever. I have no idea about the Caribbean islands. I will tell you this, though, Zotang. I believe that you should do business in the spaces that you are intimately familiar with. Every single property that I have is in Michigan because I know it. I know the area. I know the developers. I know the property managers. I know the real estate agents. I know the market. I know which places are on the come up. I know which places have stability regardless of what happens in the market. They're going to be exactly what it is that they are. So I think that you should stick with the thing that you are most familiar with and the things that you have access to the most, because if you want to do business in a space that you're not necessarily living in or a space that you can't easily get to if something happens, you waiting on a disaster. So shout out to Zotang TV. Batman 4000 plus 11 says, "Bag Chaser Hype Train. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for the 2 ball. I appreciate you." Philip Sadiq. Oh, man. Philip Sadiq said, "I'm going to hit you with the 45 ball early in the morning." Shout out to Philip Sadiq says, "Good morning. We'll be watching a replay." See, my bag chasers don't miss. They don't miss. Shout out to Bella. Shout out to Johnny Mack, Florida Boy, Red Scorpio, Michael Russell, O'Shea Lennox, the hobbyist, everybody. Stan Autry, Kratos, Legacy Builders, everybody. Stack Breach, Quotisha. Shout out to everybody that's up early in the morning getting to this money. You know what I'm saying? I love it. I appreciate it. Let's get to it. So we got a full show that we got to get to today. All right, before I tap out of this Airbnb. Nice view, nice vibes. We had a phenomenal time last night, but we got a show to get to. So let's go ahead and get the housekeeping out of the way. First and foremost, make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. As soon as I get back into Michigan, probably tomorrow or Thursday, I'm dropping a Patreon exclusive video, and then I'm going to release the Crimson Cure interview, okay? As soon as I get back into the studio, I'm dropping video after video inside of the Bag Chaser. So, and I got a special treat for y'all. So I've been talking to my guy. I've been talking to my dog. Who was my guy? I got so many people that I'm cool with. My network is vast. Pocket Watching with JT. Shout out to my dog, Pocket Watching with JT. Pocket Watching with JT says, "Yo, Anton, the Bag Chaser's been showing me love. The Bag Chasers have been showing me love." I said, "Well, Pocket Watching, it's about that time for us to do another live stream and webinar for the people." He said, "Bet, let's get on it." All right. So inside of the Patreon exclusively, for a lot of you that are familiar, the original video was up where I had Pocket Watching with JT come on, and he answered every single question for hours on end of what you needed to do as far as getting your taxes together, starting your business, looking at it from a professional's perspective. So I like to bring in professionals. I'm going to bring in a lawyer. I'm going to bring in Pocket Watching with JT again. I got a lot of people. Jacqueline Plans is absolutely dope. So we get to the money. And I have an upcoming webinar where I'm going to have Pocket Watching with JT answering every question that you guys have inside of the Bag Chasers. And he ducks nothing. He gives you all of the information, and then, you take it for what it's worth. So if you're not a part of the Patreon, The link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat for y'all to be able to tap in with that. Y'all really need to join the Patreon. Honestly, real talk. Not a sales pitch, just real. Also, shout out to the Alpha Juice Company. So if y'all not a part of the Alpha Juice gang, join the Alpha Juice gang because we doing some phenomenal things over there. The discount code is in the description. I'm going to be walking around with my shirt off all summer long, and it's partly because of the Alpha Juice Company. Also because I put in the work, but we getting the right nutrients, we having the right lifestyle. And so if you're not a part of the Alpha Juice Company, make sure that you order your Alpha Juice. The link is in the description, but don't order it unless you put in a discount code Anton. Anton 10 if you order in a cleanse over $100 or more. Anton 25 if you order for $225 or more. Or if you just want to get a discount based off of your basic order, just put in Anton in the discount code. That lets them know where it came from. It also gives them some insight and understanding on how it is that we doing work over here at the Bag Chaser. So make sure y'all tap into the Alpha Juice Company. I will be reading live streams throughout the show. Let me get to a couple more live streams before we get started. Patrice Jean-Baptiste says, appreciate the early stream during my study time. Shout out to Patrice. You know we going to do the work, and we going to entertain at the same time. I appreciate you for the 5-ball. Rickster with a 5 says, do you think that the Airbnb business is a good business for a beginner like me to do? No. The Airbnb business, a lot of Airbnb people are really suffering right now. They're really suffering. Type in Anton Daniels Millionaire Morning Show Airbnb, and I actually broke down what was going on with the Airbnb business right now for a lot of people. They're not getting money. It's a lot of people that's suffering as a part of the Airbnb business. I think that it is the type of business that you need to be very careful with. I think that you can make money in it, but I am not in the Airbnb business. I am in the traditional real estate business of buying a property, paying it off, holding it, and then renting it out forever. And then letting that be a part of my asset collection to increase my net worth. So be careful with the Airbnb business. Shout out to everybody that's in the chat that's just joining us. Shout out to everybody that's watching this on a replay. We love you. We appreciate you. Shout out to the Alpha Juice Company, all of my Bag Chasers, my Patreon members. Let's get into it, ladies and gentlemen. So without further ado, let me tap in with this, right? On the Peeping Sundays, make sure y'all go and watch the Peeping Sundays, because I go through and I rewatch everything that I'm a part of, right? I look at all of the different channels, all of the different platforms, everything that everybody is paying attention to. I am very much paying attention to. I may not jump in. I may just be monitoring it just in case I have to throw somebody off the panel or something like that. But in a general sense, I'm paying attention to most of the things that's happening across the internet that I am a part of, right? And one of the conversations that I seen happen, and specifically on the Peeping Sundays last week, was a woman battling a whole panel and a bunch of men on the idea that men, single men with no children that are successful, have to specifically or should go about taking care of single mothers. Let me give a shout out to Halisa Tambuzi, sent the $20 for a cup of coffee on Cash App. I appreciate you, Talisa or Halisa. I appreciate you. Also, shout out to Mick on Cash App with the 10-ball, says for the shout out. Shout out to Mick. I appreciate you for holding us down, Mick. Also, Aaron says, is Disney back in your good graces? No, I'm not a fan of Disney. I am not investing in Disney. I think that Disney is a disaster of a company right now, and you see that with their balance sheet and what it is that they're going through. I think that they have a ton of debt. They're overloaded with debt right now, and they're going woke, and so they're going broke, and you're seeing that reflection in a lot of the different content that they're putting out that people not necessarily rocking with. Yes, Avatar is going to make a lot of money, but all of they subsidiaries and them holding on to a bunch of assets in order for them to block Comcast from getting the whole Fox deal and then them having to divest from it while still taking on $14 billion in debt on top of the debt that they already had is a bad do. But even I fall victim to my family's desires. And when my daughter and my wife says, oh, daddy, we want to go to Disney World for our birthday, sometimes you acquiesce. Sometimes you acquiesce, Anton. But again, let's get back to the original conversation. Single mothers, right? I believe that it is a hard ask for any man. And I'm not really sure how this became a cultural norm, how we started saying that men should advocate on the behalf of single mothers, or that we should even take on single mothers. Now, listen, if you are a single mother and you able to finesse a man in order to be able to take care of your kids, especially if you got more than one, shouts out to you. Congratulations. You won at life. You was able to get your slut off, have your cake and eat it too, and not necessarily have to marry your baby daddy. As a matter of fact, I think that you not only won, you finessed the game, because now you can get your baby daddy to pay child support, and you can get another grown man to be able to take care of your munchkins. Hats off to you for finessing the game. I think that you are absolutely the finesse queen. You are the finesse queen. But I personally, and I don't care what the community is doing, I don't care how many kids that you think you can fix, I think it's very, very, very unfair to start putting the onus and start requiring men that went about doing it the right way to have to subject themselves to something that they never participated in the first place. As a matter of fact, how is it any different from us requiring people that went to school, took care of business, didn't take out student loans, went to work every day and worked their butt off, wasn't given a handout, but worked their butt off in order to get into the top 1%, to have to pay more taxes for people that never even cared and slacked off in school and didn't do what they were supposed to do, in order to make sure that we continue to support all of these social programs and we raising taxes on the rich people? How's it any different? How is it any different from feminism? Look at the parallels. Feminism is essentially advocating for you getting equal benefits without putting in equal work, because we know that men are the majority of the prison system. We know that feminists literally advocate updating family court laws because it wouldn't work in their favor. So that's not equal. It's not equal. We know that men have to suffer. They sacrifice their families. They're sacrificing their time. They're sacrificing their health in order to build this brand, this legacy. They do the most dangerous jobs, but then we want to sit here and say, well, you deserve, even though you didn't put in the work for it. So why should a man, regardless of how you feel about the community or what the parents should do, because this is not a cultural norm in other successful cultures. As a matter of fact, if you go and you look at any place abroad, now listen, I'm not down in single mothers. I'm saying that the same way that we have to take personal responsibility and ownership of our situation, it extends to you too. You are required to take ownership of whatever circumstance that you placed yourself in. If you opened your legs and you had a kid out of wedlock, own it. If you decided that you didn't vet effectively and you decided to get out of the situation that you took a vow to and you married and had a kid, own it. You don't deserve love. Who told you that? You don't deserve water. You don't deserve anything. You get what you earn. You eat what you kill. That's true equality. Because you are largely living on and standing on the backs of giants that sacrificed their lives, that died in coal mines, that fought wars in order to make sure that you were free and you had the ability to be able to do what you wanted to do. You didn't earn anything. You are the beneficiary of other people that came before you in order to ensure that you're free, have the ability to earn, do whatever it is that you want to do, go and take on a bunch of student loan debt so that you can beg Biden in order to get forgiveness. How is it any different from any other situation, any other circumstance, any other financial decision, anything that you do in your life? You have to take ownership and responsibility for your circumstance. I don't care how many people in your community, because that's not my community. My community is the bag chasers. I don't sit there and align myself with the lowest common denominator. When I see that I've made a mistake in picking the wrong person to be a part of my team, I cut it off immediately and I say, listen, don't ask me for nothing because I don't owe you nothing. Which then gives me more information. And even in that situation, I take accountability. I said, you know what? Y'all told me I shouldn't have did business with that person in the first place. My bad. I'm going to make a better decision next time. I still own it. It's still mine. I take responsibility for my family. I take responsibility for my wife. I take responsibility for my community and my neighborhood. I pour into people. I mentor young guys. God forbid you now are requiring me to make up for the mistakes that you made with another man that didn't care enough for you to actually marry. So he was cool enough for you to open your legs for, but he's not cool enough for you to take a vow for in order to ensure that your children are secure. So now another man has to come in his place and be able to take care of your munchkins just because they drooling all over the place and they ain't got no health care coverage. For what? That's the true definition of leading a man into a burning building. Why should this man put his life on the line for a woman that he never knew only because she wanted to open up her legs to him? And now what does he get in return? Disrespect from the community, disrespect from this little munchkin that's never going to ever look at him as a valuable human being. He's just going to benefit, and he's still going to be chasing his daddy because he got daddy issues and things that his father left him with from a generational curse perspective. And now we got to come and be the garbage men. Why are men, successful men specifically, that's not supposed to even be on the street in the first place, now designated to being the cleanup men? That's insane. That's insane. So this guy did everything he was supposed to do in his lifetime, and now he got to come and clean up. He got to be the garbage man. He got to clean up the streets now too. Never mind holding people accountable for the decisions that they make. Never mind the idea that when you start to change the narrative of not allowing people to recover without taking ownership and personal responsibility for their situation, you're not actually fixing the community. You're creating an environment where it's okay for people to make a mistake in their mind. In reality, it was intentional because they knew what they was doing when they opened up their legs. They knew what they was doing when they was messing with the wrong dude. They knew what they was doing when they took out their student loan debt. They knew what they was doing when they was out here busting it down. And so now another person that when you were out partying, they were in the house studying. When you was open up in your legs, they was out being celibate. When you was out here being the devil's keeper, they was out here praising the Lord. And now he has to come and clean up your mess. How is that fair? How are y'all trying to justify the idea that we, the good ones, are supposed to be the cleanup men? Now we got to put our lives on the line for the people that didn't actually care about themselves enough to do the right thing. How does that make sense? How is that making people take responsibility and ownership of their actions? And more importantly, what message is it sending to the next generation? How are y'all justifying this? How are y'all making sense on this? I'm going to be honest with y'all. I seen a bunch of men on the Peep and Sundays that I actually rock with. I rock with Hank. I rock with Bruiser. I rock with a lot of different people on that panel. I seen a woman that watched y'all, that wasn't even from the Lapeef network, that came on the panel and was watching y'all. She was more of an advocate for men than the men that were on that panel that day. Y'all are nuts. Y'all are crazy. Y'all are insane. And now I know how the liberal train continues to recruit people for whatever it is that they got going on, especially from a Democratic perspective, because it's no reason, it's no justifiable reason, it's no way you ever gonna convince me. You're not gonna be able to beat it into me. Listen, if we were slaves today and we were on the plantation and you said, Anton, I'm gonna whip you until you in submission, either you get whipped or you die, but you got to go over there and marry that single mother. Take my life. Take my life, Lord. I'm going to just give up the ghost. Ain't that what they say in church? Just give up the ghost. Just take it. Take my life. I'm out. I'm not built like that. I'm not doing it. You're not going to get me to go against my principles and the things that I stand for. And I am not, in good conscience. Shout out to my single ladies. Shout out to the people that's getting it together. In my opinion, I don't think that you should start dating until after your kids is actually out the house or they're old enough to be able to take care of themselves. That's what I stand on. I don't move. I don't sway for anybody. Now, if you're able to do it your way, there's some things you're going to agree with me on and there's some things you're going to disagree with me on. But I'm not in good conscience going to tell a man to run into a burning building and kill himself and then die while everybody else get rescued. I'm not doing it. It's not happening over here at the Millionaire Morning Show. It ain't happening on the Anton Daniels channel, and I can't do it. I'm not doing it. You're not going to get me to do it. So congratulations for y'all finessing a lot of these dudes. I don't agree with it. I don't align with it. I don't know how it is that you're able to justify this bad behavior, but shout out to y'all. Donatello says, I low-key was disgusted how they came at her. And they was holding her accountable like she was the wrong one. Insane. in the membrane. Real talk. Shout out to Donatello for the super chat. I appreciate everybody for continuing to hold me down. Do me a favor and hit a like for the YouTube algorithm. Subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications. More importantly, make sure you tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. And we got the Alpha Juice Company. All of that information is down in the description for y'all to be able to tap in. We got the Millionaire Morning Show popping off early today because I got a flight to catch and I got an Airbnb to be able to check out into. But I definitely wanted to make sure that I went live instead of pre-recorded so I can give y'all as much value as possible. Shout out to everybody that's down there. That's down in the chat, that's holding me down. I rock with y'all. I appreciate y'all. Let's continue to deep dive. Let's continue to do the work, and let's continue to do the awesome things that we're going to get into. Speaking of victims, right? Brittney Griner is back in the news. All right. We got a few things to cover today. Brittney Griner is back in the news, and specifically back in the news because she signed her new deal with the WNBA. So I want to share this with you guys. Before we continue, we got to talk about Don Lemon. We got to talk about Tesla. We got a lot of different things that we want to cover today. So before we get started, let's continue and let's get into it. Make sure you hit a like for the YouTube algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. Let's rock, ladies and gentlemen.
Let's talk about Brittney Griner. She's returning to the only WNBA team she has ever played for. Source confirms to CBS News that the Phoenix Mercury will re-sign the 8-time All-Star to a 1-year contract. The deal comes less than 3 months after Griner was freed from a Russian prison. The 32-year-old free agent led the Mercury to the WNBA Finals in 2021. Griner was then detained in Russia for 10 months after customs officials arrested her at a Moscow airport, finding vape cartridges containing cannabis oil in her luggage. When Griner was released in December, she wrote on Instagram that she intended to play basketball again for the Mercury.
Nice to see her back.
Right. Yeah.
It's her livelihood. She's so talented. And I think.
Well, first and foremost, Harpo, who is this guy? Who is this man right here with the cornrows? Who is this man with the cornrows that's on national TV, Harpo? I'm going to be reading y'all super chats throughout the show. Who is this black man with this nub in the back of his head like a chick that ain't got no hair? That must be a part of the diversity and inclusion that got him on the show. Let's continue.
I think that was like the #1 question once she got settled. Like, do you think she'll play basketball?
Mm-hmm.
So
I hope she's getting paid.
160,000.
160. Yeah, but I mean,
so then you don't have to go overseas.
You don't have to go overseas.
But you have to look at it.
So, the number that she signed for, was 1 year, $165,000 a year. Let me say that again. As we look at this black man that's on the show with his cornrows, 1 year, $165,000. Now, what do y'all think about that? What do y'all think about that? I'm curious what y'all think about it. 1 year, $165,000 a year. Now, you know that we're going to have these pundits on the internet and these people that's on these national shows that say that that is a travesty. And never mind that we're not tying compensation for the WNBA players to how much they actually generate, right? Because if we actually tied the compensation of WNBA players to what it is that they generate, then we would be more closely aligned with probably under $100,000 a year. One NBA player, for context. A lot of y'all saying that's crazy. I don't think that that's crazy. I think that she's getting paid too much. I think that all WNBA players get paid too much. I had a conversation with Lamar Odom about this. And I'm actually going to start dropping those Lamar Odom clips on Don't Do Coke in the Bathroom. That is the other channel, one of the channels that I own, where we archive all of our interviews after they've sat over here at the Anton Daniels channel for an extended period of time, right? I believe that she's getting paid too much money. I don't believe that people should be overpaid for a losing product. Now, if you don't want to play basketball, or if you want to go over to Russia and risk your freedom in which we then made an egregious play in trading the Merchant of Death in order to get Brittney Griner over here. First of all, we traded a king's ransom over here, and she's still making $165,000 just in her salary. Has nothing to do with the Victim Olympic sponsorships that she's probably going to get as a result of all of the visibility, and she probably going to come up as a result of it. But I don't believe that WNBA players should be making $165,000 a year when you actually have a losing product. The WNBA, for context, ladies and gentlemen, and this is a fact, has never, ever turned a profit. The WNBA has never, ever turned a profit. Ever. As a league. And these women are asking for more money. They don't have fans in the stands. They can't sell a jersey to save their life. I wouldn't watch it if it was on ESPN Telemundo and I was in Mexico and that was the only channel that I got on TV. I would just say, skip it. Let me just go outside and do some cartwheels in the sand. Possibly get abducted from the cartels over in Mexico before you sit down and you force me to watch a WNBA game. It is one of the most horrible products that I've ever seen on TV. And the worst part about it is not only can they not dunk, and not only do they look like little boys out there, a lot of them, but it's also it's a horrible, horrible experience. Yo, they tried to get me when the Shock, because they had the Pistons and they had the Shock, and the Shock actually was like a championship team here in Detroit. That was back when Bill Davison owned the team, right, for the Detroit Pistons, back when the 04 Pistons was killing everything. And the Detroit Shock had won like a championship or two or something like that. Man, you couldn't get me to go to one of those games at the Palace in Auburn Hills. You could not get me. I almost believe that if I bought a Brittney Griner jersey and I wore it on the internet, you guys would actually unsubscribe for the channel. And I wouldn't blame you for it. If I wore a Brittney Griner jersey, I'm about to go get me a Brittney Griner jersey. If I bought a Brittney Griner jersey and wore it on a live stream, I think that y'all would unsubscribe from the channel. For real.
Endorsements that will come, and I think her story, if you didn't know Brittney Griner's name before, you know it now. So it'll bring fans, hopefully.
Hopefully.
It won't. And I'm not a fan. And I think that, again, it was an egregious trade. And we traded the Lord of War, nicknamed the Merchant of Death, in order to get her. And if I hear one peep from anybody that is complaining about the salary that Brittney Griner is getting or Brittney Griner herself, I myself will buy the entire front row of a WNBA game for $70, and I will go and protest at the game myself. You will see me protesting at a WNBA game personally myself if I hear one peep out of this chick about getting a $165,000 salary as a result of being rescued from something that she self-inflicted herself with, and making sure that she decided that she wanted to smoke some trees over there in Russia during the Ukraine war. You wanted to go over there and play basketball, and then you didn't know Putin was a monster over there. So listen, this continues to feed into this narrative of feminism. I think that men are catching a bad rap right now. I'm about to read super chats. I appreciate y'all. I think that men are catching a bad rap night right now. Honestly, if you gave me a buy one get one free WNBA game, I don't think I can do it. I don't want my daughter to even see that nonsense. I don't want to have to troll in order to entertain myself. I genuinely don't. So shout out to all of the WNBA players and all of that other type of stuff. Listen, man, you run an inferior product. I believe it's egregious for us to even ask for more from you. And I don't want to hear anybody complaining about Brittney Griner's salary because I think that she's overpaid. I think every single WNBA player is overpaid. And y'all need to do the same way that they did it back in the day. A lot of those dudes that was in the NBA in the earlier years, they had regular everyday jobs after they got off and they got done playing. These cheerleaders that be out there, go, Pistons, Laker girls, or whatever, after they get done getting bust down by all of the players, yep, Lamar Odom told me about y'all hoes. After they get done getting bust down by all of the players, you know what they go and do? They go to their regular everyday job. They got another job. Those dudes was plumbers. They was electricians. They worked on the line at Ford Motor Company, and they had to ask for an off day in order for them to be able to travel with the team. They grinded their way out. Nobody gave them nothing. Nobody advocated for them. Nobody made sure that they was taken care of. They had to do what they had to do in order to feed their families. Until they somehow, some way got a profitable product, and even the sponsorships. Like, even these companies, these woke companies, they're like, nah, we're not about to overpay for a WNBA game. They had to go and take care of their business. If you want equal, then get it out the mud, just like everybody else. We're not going to sit here and have you running in the Victim Olympics and participating in something that we should not have to pay for at all. And that's my stance, and I'm sticking with it, all right? Let me read some of these super chats before we get going, just to make sure that I'm acknowledging the people that support the platform. Shout out to Kenneth Percival. He said, good morning, big coach. The word of the day is discipline. I think the word of the day is lemon. We going to get to that part of the story in a minute. Thank you, Kenneth. I appreciate you for the 10 ball. Class E beats my dog, says safe travels, AD and family. Let's get to this bag. I agree. I went ahead and relented, Class E. And whereas I had my daughter and my niece riding in the main cabin, and me and Rita was riding first class on the way there, I think she learned her lesson as far as making sure, because I always got to get that reality check. Listen, you don't even need to be in the plane in the first place. I don't even remember the first place. I think the first place that I went to was Cedar Point. And that was 2 hours away from where it is that we drove a car to go to Cedar Point. My daughter didn't been to different countries. She didn't been all over the freaking place. And so as a result, I had to make sure that I humbled you back down. You sit in the main cabin. Me and Mama gonna go into first class. And she's good. She's all right. As a result, she did not die. She's doing well. And then she asked me yesterday when we were celebrating her birthday. She said, "Dad, she knows how to tug on my heart. Dad, can we sit up in first class with you?" I said, "Okay, all right. I like your humility. I like the way you've been operating over this past week. I'm going to go ahead and acquiesce." So that's an additional cost that goes along with Disney, ladies and gentlemen. CKJ3 says $165K for 36 games, and the business is not making money. NBA equals stepdad of the WNBA equals stepchild. Yeah, I like the way y'all bring these parallels in order to better understand how it is that we having this conversation today. Persevere Data TV says, I thought one of the WNBA teams was under investigation for paying people under the table. Paying them for what? Are they? Well, I was about to say something that got me canceled. I think y'all know where we was going with that next comment. So shout out to Persevere Data TV. Kratos Raptor 85 says, this chicks miss layups, wide open layups. You know what we would do to an NBA player that just missed random layups? Have y'all ever seen and heard from a guy named Andre Drummond? That dude blocked me on Instagram because I was at the game and I'm like, yo, I don't want to see you in another rap video. And then he blocked me on Instagram and then we traded him anyway, so it didn't really make any difference. Shout out to Kratos. Aaron says, buy the Shock. I don't even think the Shock is in existence anymore. They might have moved and they got rid of a lot of those teams because it was unprofitable. Marlon Nash says, appreciate your content. I appreciate you for holding me down for the 5 ball and supporting the platform, big dog. Thank you. Are much appreciated. My dog, Centennial G, says, funny. I'm drinking lemon water right now. As for Griner, I believe Charleston mentioned, maybe jokingly, he bust that down in the interview. I got my dog coming in. We shooting content very, very soon. I don't want to make a security issue. Well, we good. He good in Detroit. Charleston is good in Detroit. I just talked to him yesterday. Shout out to my dog, Charleston. Pastor Eki says, safe travels and happy Mardi Gras from one pastor to another, my guy. Do y'all look at me as a pastor? Shout out to Pastor Eki. I appreciate y'all. Do y'all look at me as a pastor? I've never given myself that, but I know a lot of y'all said because I give y'all preacher vibes when I start going off on my tangent and stuff like that. But shout out to everybody that look at me as a pastor. Well, if I'm a pastor, then that means that y'all got to be a part of the congregation. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, let's continue. So the story that I really want to get to before we get over into 2% inflation, because like I said, got a lot of different subjects to cover. We got a whole show for you. Just because we going on earlier does not absolve you from doing the work as a bag chaser, all right? But before we get into the 2% inflation, because I want to leave y'all with something that helps you to better understand how it is that you need to move with your money on a regular basis, hit a like for the YouTube algorithm. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you tap into the Alpha Juice Company and make sure you become a part of the Bag Chasers. If you're not a part of the Bag Chasers, let me say this again. If you're not a part of the Bag Chasers, the link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. I got some awesome things coming up for you guys. First, we're going to have a conversation about where our next Patreon in-person meetup is going to be in April. Secondly, I got Pocket Watching with JT coming on to answer your questions personally. So whereas y'all had to pay him a whole lot of money in order to book a session, make sure that you tap into the Patreon. You'll be able to ask your questions and get insight. Similar to how we did it last year, you'll be able to ask your questions and get insight on how it is that you need to be moving with your business, with your money, with your taxes, and so on and so forth. Getting specifically professional help from one of the best in the industry, a great friend of mine, Pocket Watching with JT, will be joining on a webinar on the Bag Chaser. So if you're not a part of the Patreon, you severely missing out. You really, really missing out. And I don't know where else you can get that type of value for $15. I don't sell courses. I don't put anything out there like that. If you need to get in touch with me personally, email me at antondaniels413@gmail.com, and I'm going to make sure I get you set up for a Zoom session or a personal call. But if you're not a part of the Bag Chasers, then shame on you for not actually getting as much value as possible. Don. Historically, I personally have not been a fan of Don Lemon, right? I think that Don Lemon, to an extent, is a person that leans too heavily into his liberal views. I think that Don Lemon has warranted a lot of smoke, even though I have not covered a lot of Don Lemon. Don Lemon, to an extent, kind of sticks to whatever it is that the network, in a general sense, is requiring for him to talk about. Yes, this is live, Ray Meester. Hey, don't y'all love it when somebody say, is this live? But it's actually live when it says it's live on YouTube. What y'all think I do, a pre-record and then I go live? I play it as a live on YouTube? No, I don't do that. Shout out to Ray, said, is this live? Yes, this is live, okay? I am going live earlier today to make sure that I add value for the people that wouldn't be able to see me live at 11:30 Eastern, simply because that's the time that we usually go live, but I got to go and catch a flight and I got to go and check out my Airbnb. So in order to try to make sure I accommodate y'all, especially the people that's going to watch on replay, I went live a little bit earlier today to be able to give y'all a treat. But let's continue. Don Lemon. Recently, I've been listening to Don Lemon, and I actually had another video that I wanted to play for you guys, but when I seen this come across my desk yesterday, I said, oh no, we got to have this conversation. Oh no, we got to have this conversation. I believe that Don Lemon is not really liberal. More importantly, I think that Don Lemon isn't a simp. I know that's a hard pill to swallow. I know that's a lot for y'all to be able to take in, but hear me out. I believe that Don Lemon, that is on CNN, historically a horrible network, especially when it comes to how it is that they cover presidential races and how they covered the Trump administration. I don't believe that Don Lemon is a liberal. I don't believe that Don Lemon is a simp. I don't believe that Don Lemon is blue pill. I think that Don Lemon is a chameleon in a good way. I think that Don Lemon is a chameleon in a good way. I think Don is doing what Don got to do to go over there and get that bag from CNN because they the network that pay him. And so he kind of got that bag chaser mentality, and he's saying, yo, I got to go over here and get this money. But every once in a while, and I say this on a regular basis, when you let somebody talk long enough, they start to reveal who they are. Now, when we say they start to reveal who they are, who is Don exactly? I think that it's important for us to actually have this conversation because Don specifically went at Nikki Haley. I believe that's her name, Nikki Haley. And she's a presidential candidate on the Republican side. Now, a lot of y'all really don't understand this, but just because somebody says that they're running on conservative values and on a Republican ticket does not mean that we have to align with them. We have to align with them or we got to rock with them. There's other things that we need to evaluate and vet effectively, which is one of the reasons why it's so easy for y'all to be able to be taken over into the Democratic plantation, because y'all vote based off of party lines instead of voting based off of policy and whether or not the person is a effective candidate for president. I personally don't believe that any woman should be president. Don apparently has an opinion about this. Shout out to the Clue channel. I'm reading super chats shortly. All right, Clue. I think we should go ahead and roll the tape. Don had some specific things that he wanted to say about this woman, presidential candidate. And I think that we should go ahead and have a conversation. Let's continue.
So with us now, Republican presidential candidate Nikki Haley, former U.S. ambassador to the UN and former governor of South Carolina, a key state for presidential primaries. I understand you're in New Hampshire this morning. So welcome to our program. It's been a big week to you, for you, and I want to get to all this now. First of all, Joe Biden, the president, called Peter Alexander of NBC News after the press conference from yesterday. Here is one of the quotes that was given and made public. I think the last thing that G wants is to fundamentally rip the relationship with the United States and with me. He kind of said that, too, in his statement on camera. What did you think? Was that sufficient, and was it worth the wait?
You know, it's the idea that we would sit there and look to the sky and have a Chinese spy balloon looking back at us is a national embarrassment. The problem is that we have to start treating China like they deserve to be treated. And Biden is asleep at the wheel. You can't have them buying up farmland that's near our military installations. You can't have them putting money in our universities unless we're going to go pull our money and tell universities you either take Chinese money or you take ours. We can't have them stealing intellectual property. And when it comes to this balloon flying over, you've got to start letting China know what we expect of them, not worry about whether they want to keep a relationship or not. That's not what this is about. We have to start treating China the way they should. For Republicans and Democrats for too long thought that if we were nice to China, they would want to be like us. They don't want to be like us. They are communists. We need to start getting our act together and start making sure that they know where they stand, not that we have to worry about where we stand with them.
Ambassador.
Sounds good, doesn't it, ladies and gentlemen? I mean, it sounds good. I'm tough on China. Foreign relations. We need to let them know who's boss. You know where I've seen this happen? Where I see this play out on a regular basis? I see this happen right here on the internet. We have different women that come into these spaces and they chameleons. And you know what I can do? I can spot them immediately. There's chameleons right now. But because I'm a nice guy and because I have no vested interest in seeing a lot of these women go down in flames, I don't necessarily say anything. I wait, and I'm a patient person, and then eventually somebody will reveal themselves, and then we'll address it and deal with it accordingly. But I'm not going to hold somebody accountable for something that they don't yet say. Let me say that again. I'm not going to hold somebody accountable for something that they don't yet say. I can see through with the body language, with the history, with how people operate, who they truly are. And we have a lot of chameleons. We got a lot of chameleons. Answer me this question. Do you think that this woman should be the leader of the free world? Should this woman be the leader of the United States of America? That's not why we're here. We're not here vetting presidential candidates yet. We will get to that. We will absolutely positively get to that much, much later. It's not time yet. We're going to get to that later. This is about Don Lemon. Let's continue. Let's get into the Don.
Haley, great to have you this morning and good to see you. Following up on that, were you aware, I mean, in recent years of, or under the last administration, of these balloons? I mean, this administration's confirming that this is not new for China to have this program. And that they're only developing it to be bigger and bigger. So what exactly did we know about this in the past? And what have we been doing about it?
So that goes to the heart of another problem. Why did our intelligence agencies know this? And why did they not tell the President of the United States? Why did they not tell other cabinet directors that could do something about it? That is a problem. We have to go look into our intelligence communities.
Ma'am. And see, this is where it gets disingenuous. And this is where they just continue to give y'all talking points. What they've done from a political perspective is that they've started to dumb things down to us and they're easily able and they're coached on how to go about spinning a narrative so that they don't actually answer the question. The reality is that everybody knows everything, and it's nothing that sneaks past our Congress or our president's nose that they don't necessarily know about. But let's continue. I want to get to a specific part of this video.
And let them know they don't get to decide these things. If they have information like this, this is valuable national security information that we need to know. They should have told us that, because right now we've allowed Chinese spy balloons to go over. You know, when it ended in South Carolina, that wasn't an accident. South Carolina is a military state. That balloon went over our military installations. And the idea that other balloons did that before means we not only have a China problem, we have a government problem in the fact that NORAD should have picked up on this balloon, but our intelligence community should have told those decision makers exactly what was happening from China, so we could have dealt with this earlier.
Okay, there's another topic here. You got on the news yesterday for a very different reason. I know it's a big turn away from
Y'all
Beijing
ready?
and Washington, D.C.
Reading
politics.
Super Chat
but,
shortly.
This was a comment that happened about 24 hours earlier on CNN. This is how it went.
This whole talk about age makes me uncomfortable. I think it's the wrong road to go down. She says people, politicians or something are not in their prime. Nikki Haley isn't in her prime. Sorry. When a woman is considered to be in her prime in her 20s and 30s and maybe 40s.
What are you
That's
talking? Wait.
That's not according to me.
Prime for what?
Sound like Don Lemon been listening to Kevin Samuels lately. Sound like Don Lemon been rocking out with Jason Whitlock. Sound like Don Lemon been listening to Anton and Angry Man and everybody else that's in the sphere. Sound like Don Lemon is red pill. Sound like Don Lemon is red pill. Listen, what y'all seeing right now, and I'm going to play the rest of this, and I'm going to rewind it a little bit. What y'all seeing right now. Good morning, honey. How are you doing? I like your shirt. What Don Lemon, ladies and gentlemen, is doing is he having a conversation on a network where he's actually going against Nikki Haley, right? He doesn't like her. He doesn't like her talking points. He's leaning into the liberal mindset. He's advocating from a Democratic perspective and saying that, yo, she don't know what she's talking about. I'm going at her. What you're witnessing right here, though, even though he has two female co-hosts that's supposed to be more closely aligned with how it is that he's talking from a political perspective, once you cross a certain line, and fellas, this is what I want y'all to pay attention to. This is not a political conversation. This is an example of how women stay on code regardless of what side of the aisle that they're on. When you offend a woman, whether you are a Republican or whether you are a Democrat, when you offend a woman, whether you are white or whether you are black, when you offend a woman, whether you are short or whether you are tall, no matter what it is, those spidey senses tingle and they go into attack mode. They forget whether they married. They forget what side of the political aisle that they're on. They'll forget everything associated with whatever it is that they stand for. But when you say something and you say, listen, she talking about these politicians are over the hill, she's hit the wall. That's basically what Don Lemon said. The hyenas come out. I think Don may be more closely with us than he may be more closely aligned with these men than we thought he is. Let me rewind it a little bit. And then I'm gonna get the whole context again. Let's continue.
This whole talk about age makes me uncomfortable. I think it's the wrong road to go down. She says people, politicians or something are not in their prime. Nikki Haley isn't in her prime. Sorry. When a woman is considered to be in her prime in her 20s and 30s and maybe 40s.
What are you talking? Wait.
That's not according to me.
Prime for what?
It depends. I mean, it's just like prime. If you look it up, if you Google when is a woman in her prime, it'll say 20s, 30s, and 40s.
I don't think it was.
Don Lemon, Don. I think he tried to clean that up a little bit once he realized, oh, snaps. I'm on live. I'm not actually watching the Kevin Samuels live stream again. I'm not watching the Kevin Samuels replay. Hey, Don pushed it too far. He said that a woman is not in her prime past her 20s, 30s, and 40s. A woman is not in her prime past her 20s. That's a fact. That's a fact. We going to continue the video. Let's continue.
Talking about Amazon Prime. Later, he tweeted in the afternoon, Sandra, and sent this out.
He said this, Ambassador Haley, the reference I made to a woman's prime this morning was inartful and irrelevant, as colleagues and loved ones have pointed out, and I regret it. A woman's age does not define her, either personally or professionally. I have countless women in my life who prove that every day.
Now, listen to this tweet. Let's reread it again. This is his apology. I'm literally looking at an article right now where women, all of these liberals and women and stuff like that, the ones that supported and loved them the most, fellas, don't slip. This is where Umar Johnson walks a fine line. He makes sure that he does not offend the women that hit the Cash App. Let me say that again. He makes sure that he does not offend the women that hit the Cash App. Shout out to Mike Guest. Mike Guest with the 10 ball on Cash App says, thanks for the early show. I appreciate you, Mike Guest. Thank you for looking out for me. Thank you for holding me down. I'm reading the super chat shortly. He says, the reference I made to a woman's prime this morning was inartful and irrelevant. He didn't say it wasn't true, though. He did not say it wasn't true. He said it wasn't relevant. The jokey joke that I cracked on these women wasn't relevant to what we was talking about at that particular time. And it was inartful. I love Don's word salad. Listen, I have never really rocked with Don Lemon, but it's been a couple videos that he been dropping. It's a couple videos that he been dropping that's just been absolutely positively true. He said, listen, it's inartful. And it's irrelevant at this particular time. But it ain't necessarily untrue. All right? He says, as colleagues and loved ones have pointed out, other people said it. I regret it. Don, don't lose that bag. Go ahead and be that chameleon over there in CNN. But we need covert Hell Hydra over there at CNN and real men standing up. He said, and I regret it. And a woman's age doesn't define her either personally or professionally. It does define her prime, though. Yo, we need whoever wrote this apology to also work for Ye and to work for Kyrie Irving. I have countless women in my life who prove that every day. Shout out to Don for taking a red pill opportunity moment to be able to throw a little bit of shade and reality towards what it is that we dealing with in life. I think that there's more guys, and again, this speaks to exactly what it is that I'm talking about. There are more guys than you realize, more guys that are more aligned with how it is that the majority of the men see things in these spaces than you realize. They may not necessarily say it. They may not necessarily want to mess up the bag. They may not necessarily want to get canceled. I see a lot of guys that have some visibility, some that don't, some that just have some high-powered jobs. They reach out to me on a regular basis and they get a coaching call just to tell me, Anton, listen, there's some things that you say that I can't say, but we absolutely rocking with you and we rolling with you, big dog. Shout out to Don Lemon. Let's continue.
Is that enough for you as an apology?
Look, this is something that I have faced all of my life. If it was Don Lemon yesterday, it was Whoopi Goldberg the day before, there will be somebody else tomorrow. I have always made the liberals' heads explode. They can't stand the fact that a minority, conservative female.
Did she just say minority, conservative female? What make her a minority? Let me do a little bit of a Google search right now because I need to understand what the heck is going on. Nikki Haley, minority. That woman is white on white. Oh my God. She was the first female governor of Asian American heritage. In 2017, Haley became the first Indian American member of a presidential cabinet. Oh, stop the cap. Oh my God. This woman is, this is why I can't do it. This is why I can't do it, bro. I'm not going to do it. Ma'am, you are white. I don't care what they tell you. I don't care how people want to be a person of color. I'm a minority. Yo, this is the same feminist talking point. For her to even bring this up shows me that she is not a genuine candidate. I don't care if she's conservative and Republic. I don't care about none of that, bro. In order for you to lean on that, in order to substantiate your argument or your point, as though you're not actually talking to a black man or speaking specifically to a black man, shows me, yo, don't start hitting me with the rainbow. She's brown, she's purple, and all of that. When I look at this TV, and this is the first time that I really started paying attention to her, is when Don Lemon brought her up and brought some visibility to her. She looked like a white woman to me. You are a white woman to me. I do not see a person that is disenfranchised and all of this other type of stuff. Stop it. Stop it with this diversity and inclusion, and I'm a minority and you can't stand that I'm a woman and all of this other type of stuff. Woman code. Bro. They got y'all again. I see y'all in the chat. They got y'all again. That looked like a straight up white woman. I don't care if she got 5% or 3% or 7%. But she's of heritage. Let me tell you something. When Tiger Woods was busting down them holes, they was like, that's a black man over there. When Tiger Woods was busting down them holes, they said that that's a black man over there. Call it what you want. That's a black man. Let Obama go over there and start cheating. They not going to be talking about his heritage. They not going to be identifying the Asian side of him. You know, when I see Cam over there, I don't see no Indian or whatever the piss she say she is. I see me a modern black woman. I see me. Y'all want to sit here and pull that card when it's convenient in order for y'all to be able to leverage the situation to come up. I identify with you. I'm a Asian heritage American woman. Man, you talk just like a woman from Alabama. I don't want to hear that junk. Yo, stand on the policies. He never mentioned anything. Again, and I hate the fact that I'm sitting here defending Don Lemon. He never mentioned your ancestry. He never mentioned your color. He said you a woman and you're over the hill according to what Google said. Now, what we'll regularly see and what we'll start to step over as individuals, we'll start to go ahead and start stepping over certain things that they insert into the conversation that wasn't a part of the conversation in the first place. Please, ladies and gentlemen, do not get bamboozled. Please do not find yourself in a space to where you start to substantiate and start to acquiesce over in a person and you start to try to identify with them just because of something that they brought into the conversation that wasn't a part of the conversation in the first place. Class E Beat says she was born and raised in South Carolina. I'm not African. I'm an American. I was born in the good old United States of America in Detroit, Michigan. I'm not African. I'm American. I don't even like it when they say, are you African American? No, I've never been to Africa. I wasn't born there. My father wasn't from there. My father is from Dawson, Georgia. Okay? I'm not from Africa. I'm not. Because if you want to trace all of the different DNA that's linked to all of us, we all from all over the world, if that's the case. Stop using that in order to run in the Victim Olympics. Somebody said it in the chat. Peter Investor says she's playing identity politics. I don't want to hear that nonsense. I don't. I really don't.
Would not be on the Democratic side because they know I pull independents. They know I pull suburban women. They know I pull minorities over to what we are trying to do. And look, he made that comment. I wasn't sitting there saying sexist middle-aged CNN anchors need to have mental competency tests, although he may have just proven that point. What I was saying.
Somebody said her grandparents from India, though. Guess what? Elon Musk's ancestry and his parents, I believe, or his grandparents is from Africa. Did you know that Elon Musk technically is African? Elon Musk is a white man. Did you know Elon Musk, Africa? Musk was born in Pretoria, South Africa, and briefly attended the University of Pretoria before moving to Canada at age 18, acquiring citizenship through his Canadian-born mother. Should I also say that Elon Musk is African? Huh? Do we also identify Elon Musk as South African? Or do we say that that's a white man that's busting down and killing and busting down all of these bags and getting his money? And maybe we should say Elon Musk is African because he got the same mentality towards these hoes as Future. Elon Musk, Nick Cannon, and Future is the same thing. Is the same thing. Elon Musk is South. He was born in he's a South African. Elon Musk is more black than you, regardless of what your skin say. Substantiate that for me now. See, you don't want to sit here and argue with me because I don't care what you identify as. I look at you and I see who you really are. And one of the reasons why I say that I rock with people based off of character and also people that's trying to be a chameleon and finesse the system, one of the reasons why I say that I rock with people based off of character is because they then remove all of the identity politics that go along with it and they just substantiate who it is that they are by what they do on a regular basis. They're not leaning into identity politics in order to try to get you on their side. I see a woman chameleon right here. Y'all learned something new. Now y'all learned something new. Y'all didn't even know nothing about Elon Musk. I read his book. I studied him. I know exactly what it is that he's doing. I study the people that I like that's doing some great things.
The thing is, we need to be transparent. Those elected officials that are making key decisions for us Americans on national security and keeping our kids safe and the debt, yes, we need to know exactly that we're sending people that are mentally competent to do that. But look, the liberals are going to continue to show themselves. They can't stand the fact that I am a Republican and I am a conservative. And you know what? It rolls off my shoulders. I don't think too much about it.
Lies. Anyways, so I thought that y'all would be interested in that. And having this conversation specifically. Let me read a few of these super chats before we continue. Clue says, I don't know, AD. You got to explain that one, bro, to me. Don Lemon, I hope that I just did effectively now, Clue. I hope I explained it to you. Aaron with the fireball says, Don Lemon also almost got canceled by black folks a few years ago when he called out black culture. Oh, we're going to talk about that tomorrow, Aaron. That's actually the video that I wanted to talk about tomorrow, but we're going to get there. Black culture when he changed his tune when CNN wanted him to. Don is a chameleon. He said, I got to get this bag. Accountability partner says, big dog, great point. Quit emotional voting and party line voting. Best candidate, be safe traveling. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate you for holding me down and continuing to support the platform. I appreciate you, the accountability partner. Class E Beat says, I was just waiting for Don to bring up the wall. I thought he was going to say she hit the wall. They would have fell out of their seats, and we probably would have had to get Don on he probably would have went over into the BT network shortly thereafter. But he said, nope, I'm not going to BT. I'm going to get this CNN bag, and I'm going to continue to make this money. God of Blackness with the 10 ball says, keep teaching, Ant-Man. That's a dope name. My name is Anton. Ant-Man is in the building. I'd rather be Kang. But shout out to the God of Blackness. Persevere Daily TV says she need to claim her set. You are a woman of white hue and pigmentation, born in South Carolina. We don't want to hear none of that victim Olympics. Michael Racehorse says she's trying to win on both ends using a system. Finessing. And now she got the white woman over there at CNN on her team. Class E Beat says, I vote to pull Elon on the Black History Month posters. I vote to put Elon on the Black History. Hey, he's South African, right? South African went over into Canadian. Now y'all want to claim him as black now that y'all know something. Okay, Elon Musk is a black man. Okay, all right. Shout out to Brock with the past love offering. He says Elon Musk is the real African American. Facts. More black than y'all. Spencer Campbell says, bro, you can't call them 304s. They're healers. I heard, hey, Aaron did a whole live stream about that yesterday. Shout out to Aaron cooking up. We doing what we do over here. Make sure y'all hit a like for the YouTube algorithm, subscribe to the channel, turn on your notifications, and then make sure that you get your Alpha Juice Company. All of the discount codes is in the description. Do not order it without putting the discount code. We love you. We appreciate you, Alpha Juice. Let's continue with the show. We got a whole, I told y'all we got a whole show for y'all. I want to leave y'all with something specifically. I'm not going to be able to pull y'all up on the panel today because we got a time that we trying to keep with what we doing over here today. All right. I want to leave y'all with something that y'all can actually utilize that's outside of the entertainment aspect of things. Because we on a Millionaire Morning Show, and we got to have a conversation about inflation and things that are affecting us. Specifically, though, there's this number that we hear a lot of times because y'all have heard a wide variety of numbers, and I've been teaching y'all over the past 2 years everything that you can possibly know and how you're affected, the middle class, so on and so forth, about inflation. We know last year, inflation had hit above 9%. For some of y'all, it was significantly higher in your personal life. But there's this magic number that we always try to stay at, and it's at 2%. Maybe I'll do a whole show one day on deflation, inflation, certain countries that's been destabilized as a result of inflation getting out of control and so on and so forth, and what happens when you have deflation. But there's this magical number, and it's 2%. And it's a number that's being heralded, celebrated, and it's the number that the Fed would like for inflation to get at, which is one of the reasons why they're raising rates. And I'm going to break this down from a C student's perspective for the people in the back. But I want you to remember that number, 2%, okay? And I want to teach you something. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and we're going to have a conversation about this 2% number. But before we get into it, let me go ahead and tell y'all need to hit a like for the YouTube algorithm again, or dislike, because the numbers aren't proportional. It's not proportional to how many people is in here, right? If we almost got 1,000 people in here, even at a time that we not even usually streaming, but we got less than 500 likes, I'm gonna give you an opportunity to hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on your notifications. Let's get into the video, ladies and gentlemen.
2%.
2%.
2%.
The 2% inflation target is key to the Fed's vision for stable prices in the U.S. economy, as well as the rest of the world.
2% Bank of England inflation target.
But who decided 2% was the magic number?
It is, I think, an error to say 2% is somehow magically the right number.
You would think somewhere in the Bible, and God says He wants 2% inflation.
The 2% inflation target, it's relatively arbitrary.
It was invented, oddly, in New Zealand.
25, 30 other central banks adopted the New Zealand approach, so we led the way in inflation targeting. I mean, there's a bit of a mafia amongst central bankers. Once you're in the family, you're in the family sort of things. And they all get together, sit around conference tables.
Turns out the 2% inflation target didn't exactly start that way.
It's sort of a historical accident.
Somehow it just became 2%. 2%'s good.
Yeah, they missed out the 0 2. It was 0 to 2.
Here's how economies across the globe adopted inflation targeting, how they settled on 2%, and whether or not that target may change.
Now remember, every single quarter, the Fed is evaluating, as you watch this, as we break this down, as I continue to give insight and information on how it is that you need to understand money. When you understand money, you understand business. When you understand business, you become more successful in your household. You become more successful in your job. You become more intentional with what it is that you're doing with your money and your resources that you're trading your time for. Keep in mind, every single quarter, and I know that a lot of y'all that's been rocking with me, it'll be 3 years, and I think September or something like that here on the Millionaire Morning Show. I know a lot of y'all that have been rocking with me are more informed than you've ever been. But we don't understand the reason why we're doing what we're doing. We don't understand why we're driving down inflation. We don't understand why we're artificially creating an economy where we have to lay people off based off of the fact that we need to drive down inflation. How do you do that? What is in the Fed's arsenal in order to be able to do so? They have to continue to raise rates. Raising rates basically makes it more expensive for you to get a hold of cheap money. meaning it's going to be more expensive for you to be able to finance a home. It's going to be more expensive for you to be able to finance a car. It's going to be more expensive for you to be able to draw money in order to get business loans. Anytime you have to rely on financing a bank, servicing a loan, it is going to cost you more money to be able to beg, borrow, and steal in order to do the things that you thought was normal back in the day. So now when you see rates, interest rates continue to go up, the cost for you to be able to buy a home 2 years ago is much different than what the interest rates are today. How much you're going to be paying on a monthly basis is much different than what you're going to be paying today. So when you draw money and you get a HELOC, a home equity loan, when you draw money out and you refinance your home and you got to pay a higher rate, when you draw money and you use your credit cards in order to start your business, when y'all keep talking about credit scores, now you can start to add in some context and some better understanding of how it is that we got to these numbers and these interest rates in the first place. A lot of y'all don't even question or ask questions why we paid the interest rates that we paying. Why are credit cards so high? Why are mortgage loans exactly what they are? Why is it that you get this particular rate? And it's not just based off of your credit. You get it based off of a lot of other factors, and this is the insight and information that you need in order to make informed decisions.
The Federal Reserve uses monetary policies to achieve its dual mandate: maximum employment and price stability. Price stability can be achieved with inflation targeting, which is
It's just the simple idea that the way a central bank should run its policy is to choose an explicit numerical target for inflation.
the Federal Reserve didn't have an official inflation target until 2012, which happened to be right after the Federal Open Market Committee contrarian of the time, Tom Honig, left his position.
I was president of the Federal Reserve Bank of Kansas City from 1991 to 2011. During the period that I was there, it followed the great inflation. That period was really quite chaotic, if you will.
And too many dollars start chasing too few goods. The result, inflation.
In the late 80s, an individual from the Bank of New Zealand came to the United States.
That individual is Arthur Grimes. He is pretty much the father of inflation targeting.
In the 70s and 80s, New Zealand had one of the highest inflation rates in the Western world.
Grimes was fresh out of the London School of Economics.
Yeah, and I applied these new insights into designing a brand new central bank act. It was a wonderful opportunity for a really freshly minted PhD economist. I had worked at the bank for 6 years before I did my PhD, so I knew the central bank well.
So the bank was shifting to be more independent because in New Zealand at the time, its central bank was tied to the government.
We were saying, well, okay, if we have independence, what should we target? Interest rates or the money supply? One day I said, well, actually, what are we trying to achieve? We're trying to achieve price stability. Why don't we just have an inflation target? You know, it was sort of like cut through the middleman.
And thus, inflation targeting was born.
Now, when we say inflation targeting, it means that they better understand exactly what the impact of printing money is, okay? I'm going to break it down from a C student's perspective because I know a lot of y'all will hear this video and sometimes it'll go in one ear and out the other, right? And when y'all were in class in college or in high school and they would play a video and then they would say, all right, we're about to take a pop quiz, you wouldn't even know what they were saying because they're talking over your head. And they take these experts and they bring them in and they say whatever it is that they're going to say from a historical perspective, but you don't know how to digest that and then use that and help you to understand how it is that you need to be moving differently, right? Let me break it down from a C student's perspective. They started to understand the impact of what printing more money in order to solve their problems had on you as a consumer and then them as a government body. So for example, right, back when we used to have our money backed by actual real assets that were sitting inside of the Federal Reserve, we could justify the cost of being able to say money. Money itself, okay, has no value. It's not even worth the paper that it's printed on. Money itself has no value. It's not even worth the paper that it's printed on. But how do we substantiate that a dollar is a dollar? And how do we compare the dollar against the euro? And how is it that we can substantiate $1 million and makes you a millionaire and that's actually meaningful when you can go over to Zimbabwe and $1 million is like having 13 cents? How do we substantiate that? Well, in order to actually get people to buy into what it is that we're doing from a financial perspective, meaning you have to believe in the currency. When people compare the euro against the dollar, when people compare the yuan against the dollar, they have to have a central currency that they believe in in order to then substantiate what the value or the worth is or of other currencies, right? And so what happened was, instead of us actually solving for the problems that we had within our economy, we said, you know what we can do? We could just print more money, and then printing more money will actually give us more in order for us to actually be able to solve for the problems that we have. Instead of us solving for the fundamentals of what our economic situation was as a country, we decided to print more money. Printing more money then drove up inflation, because that means that the value of your dollar is going to go lower. It means that when you were able to buy a car for $3,000 in the 80s cash, the average price of a vehicle is increasing up to the 40s, the 50s, and the $60,000 range. That means that if you put money in the bank back then, $3,000 would probably be worth what? $3,400 today, as far as how your money would grow based off of the rates that the bank would give you. On the flip side, and I'm going to relate this back to what it is that we're doing from a financial perspective. On the flip side, you weren't keeping up with the rate of inflation. So your $3,000 is worth less than it ever had been if you had just put it in the bank or you stashed it under your mattress or whatever, so on and so forth. Whereas the cost of being able to buy a car has increased exponentially because the value of money has been driven lower because inflation is very, very high. So then when I tell you, you need to get assets, you need to buy watches, you need to buy not watches, but timepieces that increase with value. You need to invest in things. You need to put your money in things that then beat the rate of inflation. I'm telling you that you can't save your way to wealth, because as long as we have inflation, meaning the value of your dollar goes lower, so you need more money to do the same things that you were able to do yesterday, then you will continue to be behind the eight ball. So even if you think that you're making a lot of money, when I tell you that you make $100,000 a year, but being six figures is not the same as being six figures in the late 90s or the early 80s, it is a big difference. It's a huge difference, because the value of your money does not go as far. And you can see that, the little indicators, how it is that we pay for feed in order to feed the chickens, that then substantiate whether or not we can actually pay for eggs, or the value of you going to get meat, or how much it costs to get a gallon of gas. When you see those old signs and it say 37 cents for some gas, or people used to be able to put, I remember back in the early 90s, we used to be able to put $1, get $1 in gas in order to fill up our mopeds, and we'd be riding out. We used to get $1 of gas and fill up our mopeds, and we'd be riding out. So my point that I'm selling to you, and I'm selling this to you because I'm trying to convince you of doing the thing that's in your best interest, is that when you start to look at money, when you start to understand, when you're listening to these different people that are in the Fed, or people that used to be the former director of this and that and so on and so forth, they're giving you insight and information on how it is that you need to go about looking at things in the future by helping you to understand your past. It's the same thing with the Bible. The Old Testament gives you the blueprint of what it was that we went through, so that you can understand why Jesus came to be able to fulfill the law and then die for the sins of man, so that we can then have the ability to be able to be a seed of Abraham, right? My point to you guys is that we need to understand where we come from. And everything you do, get understanding in order to understand how it is that you need to go about doing things from a financial perspective going forward. Give you another example. Berkshire Hathaway. Berkshire Hathaway. Do you know who owns Berkshire Hathaway? Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett still studies Ford Motor Company's results from the 70s, because he then uses that same information, or the way in which he parsed that data, in order to make informed decisions on the companies that he's on investing in today. In order to understand where you're going, you need to know where you came from, but we don't lean on to that in order to give us excuses as to how we can't continue to be successful. Let's continue.
As a strict 2%, but instead as a range.
But we really wanted to embed our credibility by achieving a target that no one believed we would achieve. So we made the target pretty tight, just 1% plus or minus 1%, which became just the 0 to 2. But I have to tell you, even around the table at the central bank, we didn't believe it. The idea of achieving 1% inflation was none of us had experienced in our adult.
Even over at the central bank, they didn't believe in it. Even though that tells me, I'm not the smartest cookie in the book. As a matter of fact, I don't even consider myself a C student. I think that I have to work extra hard in order to meet the very average expectations of what most people believe or operate as, right? What he's telling you is that these numbers that they give you, They're literally just numbers in the sky that you can substantiate as easy talking points in order to get people to try to draw into what it is that they're saying. If I give you a sound number and you don't even question me where that number came from, if I just say 2%, right? They don't even believe it, but they understand they have to have it in order to be able to substantiate it to the American people or to people in general. If you don't get the understanding behind why they doing what they doing, then you can't make an effective decision on anything. You can't make an effective decision on how it is that you need to negotiate your salary package. You can't make an effective decision on whether or not a politician is lying to you. You can't make an effective decision on whether or not it's actually a good idea for you to go over there and get that mortgage. Why would you get a 30-year mortgage when you can get a 15? Why do people get a 30-year mortgage? I'll tell you why people get a 30-year mortgage. The reason why people get a 30-year mortgage is because they used to everybody else getting a 30-year mortgage. They're used to everybody else getting a 30-year mortgage. You do it because everybody else do it. You don't do it because you have any real rhyme or reason or understanding as to how we're supposed to move from a financial perspective. You don't understand that you're going to pay more than triple of what the total cost, or more than double what the total cost of the house is for a 30-year mortgage. Whereas if you was to get a 15, not even saying that a 15 is the ideal scenario, you literally cut that cost in half and you get a better interest rate. You get a better interest rate when you get a 15 versus a 30. Most people don't even take into consideration the interest rate. They just want to own a home because you don't understand how money works. And instead of you looking to get a house based off of your lifestyle and how it is that you can be able to exist within your society and be able to thrive, so you put yourself in the best position possible, and then you can go and buy a mansion when you get rich. We then do the thing that's sold to us by everybody else because the banks did a really good job in marketing what their products are without actually even having to take out any ads on national TV. You believe in a 30-year mortgage just because your homeboy did it. We in the Me Too era and we don't even know it. We in the Me Too era when it comes to money. We in the Me Too era when it comes to women. We in the Me Too. Nobody is actually making an informed decision for themselves. Everybody is just leaning into the thing that everybody else is doing because that's the thing that sounds good to us. You know why they say $4.99, $49.99? You know why they say $99.99 instead of saying 100? Because subconsciously you think and you're being programmed to think that you're actually getting a deal even though you're only saving a penny. Let me let this play for a little bit longer.
Lifetimes, pretty much. And we got there. In fact, we got there a year earlier than we said we would. From then on, people started saying, actually, they do mean business.
Like most things, instead of going to zero, everyone became satisfied with 2%. And
instead of saying zero, meaning no inflation or deflation, instead of saying zero, because the actual rate should be closer to zero, instead of us saying zero, no inflation or deflation, we're saying 2. Are y'all paying attention to the programming? Are y'all paying attention to what's being communicated to you? Are you paying attention to how we're easily manipulated in order to do things that other people believe is best for us because it's best for their pockets and it's an easy talking point? Why would you shoot for 2% when I can shoot for 0? Why would I shoot for paying a mortgage just to say I own a home when you really don't own the home? The bank own the home, and you'll actually never really own the home because if you don't pay property taxes, you're going to lose the property anyway.
And that became the target first in Europe and then eventually adopted by the European Central Bank.
Like inflation targeting became very fashionable in like the late 1990s, early 2000s.
Targeting 2% keeps consumer expectations anchored. So if people
listen to what she said, we're going to stop it right there. Targeting 2% keeps consumer expectations anchored. That means that you have such a low bar for what it is that you expect in your life. Now extrapolate this out into every other aspect of your life. Extrapolate this out into the relation. I know y'all like to talk about relationships. Extrapolate this out over into every other aspect of your life. You have so low expectations that you don't even expect to get married before you have sex or have a child. You have so low expectations that you expect to pay interest and a loan and that we prioritize. Think about this. Debt because it's a heavy expectation, and it's the thing that we've been taught in order to continue to keep the economy running and to keep the banks profitable. Why do you think that back in 2008 they had to save the banks and they said that the banks was too big to fail? Because we don't make anything anymore. And the majority of the way in which we generate our money and our resources comes from the interest that comes along with whatever it is that they sold you in order to continue to service the loan. I'm not going to teach you. I'm not an economy teacher. I'm not going to sit here and give y'all a whole course. If y'all not a part of the Bag Chasers, if you're not a part of the Patreon, link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. I need you to start making more informed decisions and align yourself with a group of people that's actually going in the direction that you're going in. We set higher expectations over at the Bag Chasers, and that's why people hate us, because we don't settle for average. We don't settle for normal. We don't settle for the thing that's not best for you. We go all the way into the thing that we want, and that is zero interest, no debt, super successful, married, greatness, phenomenal network, aligning yourself with a group of people that's going in the direction that you're going in, and we want all of the spoils. We not settling for halfway of anything. Make sure you tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. We got the cleaners, we got the pool guy and all of that here. So basically that's a sign to say they want to get us up out of here so that we can go ahead and take care of business. He over here cleaning the pool up. I appreciate it. Long as you don't, interrupt the Millionaire Morning Show. So listen, we had a phenomenal show today. I like streaming earlier. I'm going to try to figure out how I can stream earlier, but tomorrow we go back to normal, 11:30 Eastern a.m. We're going to start the live stream. We're going to get it popping. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. I hope y'all appreciate what it is that we did today over at the Millionaire Morning Show. I want to give you the entertainment. I want to give you the game. I want to give you the love. I want to give you everything great, but I also want you to be able to utilize the information that we have. I'm going to put the medicine and the candy. I want you to utilize the information that we're giving you in order to be able to leverage a situation in order to be super successful in every aspect of your life. Make sure y'all tap into the Bag Chasers. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. Shout out to God of Blackness says 30-year mortgage lemons. I appreciate the fireball. Thank you to everybody that contributes to the platform. I put a lot of work into what I do on a regular basis as far as making sure that I give y'all all of the game, insight, and how it is that we continue to rock out. Make sure you share this with your family and friends. We don't want to be rich by ourselves. I need you to do me one more favor before we get up out of here, ladies and gentlemen. Hit a like for the YouTube algorithm. Subscribe to the channel. Turn on your notifications. I love you. I appreciate you. You guys are absolutely awesome. I will see you back in Michigan. Detroit, Michigan specifically. That's where I'm from. That's where I'm going to continue to put my resources. I love y'all. Y'all are the greatest audience on earth. And I hope you enjoy what we do over here at the Millionaire Morning Show. If you're not a part of the group, if you're not a part of the tribe, I encourage you to join. I love you. I'm going to holler at you later. Peace.